Let's go to Algeria and see what happens. Hello, Eldridge. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I hear you.
Good. Eldridge, you once wrote in Soul on Ice that the price of hating other human beings is loving oneself less. Could you elaborate on that a bit for us?
I think that was a very short and pithy remark, and I put it that way because to take it much further, I think you lose the substance, you know? It's just the whole idea, when you see people who are full of hate, you understand? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
When you see people who are just full of hate in general, they don't even like themselves. The people that I like best are those who are motivated by warm feelings of love and so forth, you know. This doesn't mean loving your enemy. I think that love and hate are very much normal parts of the whole human apparatus, and if one is not capable of hating an enemy, I don't think that one would be capable of loving anybody. So that the kind of hatred that I was thinking about in that particular portion of the book was not the kind of hatred that you would focus, say, on a rattlesnake or a poison or something that is dangerous to your survival, something that is threatening to your very existence. The feeling, the negative feeling that you have towards something that is dangerous, this is not necessarily something we would call hate. For instance, when someone looks upon, say, a rattlesnake that may be playing near his children, we don't usually call this hatred, but it's a very negative and strong feeling of wanting to secure oneself and one's children from the possible danger represented by this snake. But in a sociological context, in a social context, the term hate is usually reserved for other people. And people often get this confused where there are victims, say, of an oppressive situation, and they have natural feelings of antagonism and repulsion against their oppressor, and we call this hate. But those who have an interest in peddling such ideas such as you find in the Bible that thou shalt not hate and all this kind of thing, this is nothing but a subterfuge to confuse your natural feelings and to throw you in conflict with yourself. But the kind of hatred that I was talking about is the senseless, racist hatred which some people consciously indoctrinate into other people, and I think limits or circumscribes their humanity and so forth. So that I think it's very necessary for oppressed people who are healthy and who have an interest in being healthy to properly relate to their environment, to properly relate to those dangerous things in their environment without getting confused and relate to it in the way that the oppressor relates to it. I don't know if that's clear or not, but
Yes.
I think there's a very clear distinction between very stupid and racist hatred that racists have towards people, and then the very healthy and righteous feeling of opposition which the oppressed people have for their enemies. Physical and personal advantage. But we see this as being bad for both of them and being good for those who are struggling, because you have to balance off what's happening inside the United States with what the pigs are doing outside of the United States. And outside the United States, the U.S. ruling class is spearheading the consolidation of the white race against the people of color all over the world. You can see this very clearly in the development of the unity amongst the Europeans around the common market, around NATO, and then crossing over and uniting all these forces with the Soviet Union, with the Warsaw Treaty, Warsaw Pact countries, with Israel, with the racist regime in South Africa and southern Rhodesia, with the Portuguese colonial
El-
we see very clearly how those forces are going. And then on top of that domestic situation and the general international situation, the very heavy recent event of Nixon and the ping pong games he has going with Chu and Lai. All of this we see as being very bad, particularly for the Afro-American people, but really for the American people in general, if it is allowed to take place unopposed. For example,
Eldridge,
that it is of fundamental importance that Richard Nixon's trip to China be stopped. We think it would be a heroic and a fundamental contribution to the world revolution if the American people would take steps to force a cancellation of Richard Nixon's visit to Peking, because first of all, they're trying to front this trip off as a way of ending the war in Indochina. Well, we think that just as the Vietnamese say that any settlement of the conflict in their country should be settled directly with them. And the pigs are already talking to the Vietnamese in Paris. If they were genuinely interested in settling that situation, they would do it with the Vietnamese people. But by going to Peking, what they're doing is getting deeper into the old game of power politics, and they have this willingness on the part of Chu and Lai and his friends to become involved in that and play this old power politics game.
Eldridge, excuse me. Eldridge, can...
Possibility of the world being carved up on that basis, and that it would be bad for us. So we think that it should be opposed, and if it's possible to stop it, make it impossible for Nixon to go there.
Eldridge, excuse me. We are completely out of time. I want to thank you very, very much for speaking with us, and perhaps we'll be able to talk again, okay?
There's no more news, huh?
Nothing more from our end, but you've just made a lot of news yourself, I'm sure.
I hope it comes out like I said it.
It came out exactly as you said it, Eldridge. Thank you for talking with us.